Aion is the third full-length album from Bees Made Honey in the Vein Tree, and this is a German group of folks who've been friends for quite some time. They suggest that they're all somewhat academic in their pursuits otherwise, and they've really kind of been something to combine sort of post-rock and post-metal feeling and movement with psychedelic rock and psychedelic doom metal. There's not quite a full stoner metal affect to it, but it does fit into that realm in an experiential sense. So this is really for someone who has interest in both post rock, post metal, and how that can work with psychedelic rock influences, tones, timbres, and how that can work together. So you know that these things don't quite work together because there's dual expectations set from the beginning. And as I lean towards the psychedelic rock and sort of metal side of things at once, the post metal side of it tends to provide a minimalist cinematic feeling and score to the situation by way of what I would consider liminal pieces, interludes and long extended builds that lead up to one big moment in every other song. So I wouldn't say that this is a strong conflict of interest between the two subgenres. It's more that they've done well to combine them in a way that feels intentional, meaningful, and illustrative of maybe a an abstract point. So we'll get into just a little clip of a song. It's kind of a hard thing to capture, and check this band out for a second. So if you're familiar with the instrumental and maybe more fluid and expansive side of a band like Year of No Light, and then maybe a psychedelic rock band like Mars Red Sky, who are obviously on a different spectrum themselves, you kind of get the sense of what the range of this band. They have they sort of down tuned on their second record. It was a heavier thing, and now this leans into the darkness a bit more, and it has an interesting theme of eternity. So there are some very pensive and deep moments on this record that don't always amount to psychedelic doom metal, and that means that you might wait. You know, you gotta. You really do have to wait 4 or 5 minutes to get to that one really great part of the song. It kind of goes off, and then we move on to the next piece. Now, anyone who listens to post whatever music knows that's just the way it is. That is the cinematic affect of the music. It's an expectation of it. And I think that's cool and all. But as a little bit more of an impatient person in terms of getting to the real statement and the point, that build works the first time, and every other time I'm just waiting for the big moment to happen. So parse your own expectations according to what your listening habits are. But of course, the points that do stand out are worth talking about, and that's why I'm talking about this record. I do feel like there's a lot of much ado about nothing in a lot of post music, especially post rock, and this band provides something substantial, but it really requires that you sit with um, the interludes and get a point of this scene. And it is about the passage of time. It is about considering eternity and really sitting in those liminal spaces I suggested, and feeling the time pass. Feel a little bit of the limbo of the music before we get onto these bigger moments. That is to say that it is an 80-minute double LP, and there are going to be points that just won't work for some people who are looking for this thing or the other. So if you're already sold as to what this band can do, there are some new things here that are a little bit different. I think the guitar work is just a little bit better in terms of finding a riff and kind of hitting it for that minute or two that they do. And I think that this is just a little bit more of a psychedelically active showing in terms of the render and the general wash of the instruments as they work over the sort of landscape, as it were. So it's not as much of a bulldozer of a record as I'd expected from previews, but it is a good record, and one where, there's probably 50 of those 90 minutes or 80 minutes that I like quite a bit. And That might sound like an evisceration, but actually, there's quite a lot of good that comes with being patient and enjoying a record like this. So it does get a moderately high recommendation because I just like them to cut it down to what they're best at. And but in this case, they're telling a story, and it takes some patience, and maybe that gives it some marks for immersion, but cuts down on how many times I'll listen to it over the rest of my life, right? So check that out this Friday when it comes out, and go ahead and read the written review if you would like more details.